The first weekend of football action in January 2025 has come and has gone. Of course, we still have some games on Monday, but over here at EaglesTracker, over the weekend, we followed 71 different matches that could potentially feature a Nigerian player from 36 leagues around the world. I mean, that is less than a typical single match day when we're in full flow of things. Some leagues haven't resumed, but I'm going to take you through all the action from this past weekend. You are watching the Lowdown with IoT on EaglesTracker. Let's get into it. I'll start with Friday's action. Over in Spain, we had Crisantos Uche with a decent performance for Getafe in their 1-0 extra time victory over Granada in the Copa del Rey. In Bangladesh, we had Segun Oduduwa in action for Brothers Union in their 3-0 victory over Fakirpur. We also had Isaiah Eje, who got an assist for Bashandura Kings in their 5-0 victory over Bangladesh Police FC. Moving over to Cyprus, Adebayo Adeleye was in goal for Enosis in their 2-1 victory over Omonia. Not Zoho's Omonia, a different Omonia. And we had Godwill Ekpolo in action for AEK Lanaka as they fell to a 3-0 defeat against Zoho's Omonia. Francis Zoho, unfortunately, was on the bench and did not feature in this game. Over in Israel, we had Peter Olawale, and also Onye Muchara. Forgive me for butchering the name, but Chinonso Onye Muchara as well as Peter Olawale were in action in Hapoel Ramat Gan's 3-1 victory over Hapoel North Hagalil. We also had Nazim in action in Hapoel Afula's 2-3 victory over Maccabi Hezleya. David Nazim was in action. He's a midfielder for Hapoel Afula. Moving over to New Zealand, Joshua Oluwayemi had a good game, making several saves in Wellington Phoenix's 2-0 defeat against Melbourne City. Unfortunately, his efforts were not enough to prevent his team from losing that game, but he made 7 saves and it was a good performance from him. And then in Turkey, on Friday, we had David Obajide Akintola and Ibrahim Olawoyin both in action in Kayseri Rizespor's 1-1 Turkish Super League draw against Besiktas. I watched that game. Rizespor absolutely should have won that game. They wasted so many chances. It was a good game by Akintola. Olawoyin had a decent game before having to go for the knock, but that's how our Nigerian players fared on Friday. Moving over to Saturday, in England, we had Paul Onuachu and Joe Aribo both in action for Southampton as they fell to a heavy defeat, 5-0 defeat against Brentford at home. A poor outing for them. Nigerian players, Aribo and Onuachu individually were not terrible, but Southampton as a whole is just a bad team. They are for sure getting relegated, and it's just sad to watch them, honestly. It's sad to watch nowadays. We had Kelechi Nwakali with a good midfield performance for Barnsley in their 3-0 victory over Crawley Town, Benjamin Tanimu's Crawley Town. Tanimu did not feature in that game. We had in the English League One as well, Fred Onyedima in action for Wycombe Wanderers in their 1-1 draw against Blackpool. Daniel Udo was also in action in that game. Also had Joseph Olowu in action for Doncaster Rovers in their 1-2 League 2 defeat against Port Vale. And then Josh Maja featured for West Bromwich Albion as they were held to a 1-1 draw by Swansea City in the EFL Championship. Over in France, Akor Adams was in action for Montpellier as they fell to a narrow 1-0 defeat against Lyon. Montpellier are really struggling this season, and I'm hoping that their result can change and Akor Adams can get some more goals to his name. In Australia, on the women's side of things, Onyinyechi Zog was in action for Perth Glory as they fell to a 2-0 A-League women defeat against Wellington Phoenix. In Bangladesh, Sunday Emmanuel was on target. For Mohammedan Dhaka in their 1-5 victory over Abahani Chittagong. Sunday Emmanuel scored a goal in that one. And then we also had Agbaji Emmanuel featuring in that game in Iraq. Yes, Nigerian players in Iraq. Austin Amutu was on target for Al Talaba in their 2-1 victory over Al Najaf. 2 goals in 2 games now for him, and hopefully he can keep up this form. I won't be watching the games, but I'll be following. Over in Israel, James Adeni got an assist for Hapoel Hadera as they fell to a 1-2 defeat against Hapoel Beersheva. In Malta, we had several Nigerian players in action. Okereke, Udo, and Gabriel all in action in Munster's 1-0 Maltese Premier League victory over Zira United. Alfred Silas, we also had Alfred Silas in action in Hibernian's 3-2 victory over Melita. 3-2 victory over Melita. And then Emeka Agu was in action for Slema Wanderers in their 1-0 defeat against Zabar St. Patrick. Over in Portugal, Bruno Image, not the best game for him as Boavista fell to a 1-3 Premier League defeat against Aruca. We had John in action for Portimonense as they claimed a 1-0 victory over Alverca. Sadiq Fatai was in action for Penafiel in their 1-0 victory. Junior Pius was in action for Chavez in that same match. It was a 1-0 victory for Penafiel over Chavez. Moving over to Saudi Arabia, Shinonyere McLeans was a late substitute for Al Shabab women in their Women's FA Cup draw against Al Hilal. Eventually, Al Shabab claimed a 2-1 victory in extra time. In South Africa, Etiosa Ighodaro was in action for Amazulu in their goalless PSL draw against Golden Arrows. Moving over now to Thailand, Adefolari Durosimi was in action for Cassette Sarts as they fell to a 1-2 defeat against Chantaburi. That is over there in Thailand. And then in Turkey, we had Emeka Eze scoring a goal from the spot for Pendikspor in their 2-0 victory over Fatih Karagümrük. Paul Mukairu, star of the show for Boluspor, 1 goal and 1 assist as they claimed a 2-4 victory over Yeni Malatyaspor. Olayiwaju Kayode was also in action as Sanyofraspor played out a goalless draw against Korum FK. Anthony Nwakeme featured for Trabzonspor as they fell to a 2-1 defeat against Samsunspor over there in the Super League. And then in our game to watch on Saturday, we had Victor Osimhen scoring from the spot while Anthony Dennis provided an assist as Osimhen's Galatasaray claimed a 2-1 victory over Göztepe. And then on Sunday, to wrap up the weekend's action on Sunday, in England, Calvin Bassey and Alex Iwobi were both in action for Fulham as they were held to a 2-2 draw by Ipswich Town. Or should I say, as they held Ipswich Town to a 2-2 draw. It was an interesting game. Bassey unfortunately made an error for Ipswich's first goal, but Fulham tried to fight back. Unfortunately, couldn't get the win in that one, but it was a good game for neutrals and for me as a fan of Nigerian players. In Spain, we had Rasheedat Ajibade returning to action after about 6 weeks of injury. Rasheedat Ajibade was in action for Atletico de Madrid Femenino. Unfortunately, they fell to a 1-2 derby defeat against Real Madrid. Happy to see her back on the field, and hopefully she can get on the score sheet and contribute goals to her team pretty soon. In Italy, Fisayo Dele Bashiru played the first 45 minutes for SS Lazio as they fell to a 2-0 defeat against AS Roma. Honestly, I'm not too sure why he was the one that was subbed off at halftime. I know they were already losing 2-0 at halftime. The coach wanted to make changes, but I felt like Dele Bashiru was having a good game. He was pretty much the one that created their only real chance in the first half. So I was a bit surprised that he was taken off. But hey, I'm not the coach. In France, Hamza Adjediran came off the bench for RC Lens, 10-man RC Lens, as they fell to a 0-1 defeat against Toulouse. And then we had continental action in the CAF Confederations Cup. Omoyele Tosin was on target for CS Constantine in their 4-0 victory over Bravos Domakis. Wale Musa Ali assisted the goal for USM Alger in their 1-1 draw against ASEC Mimosa. In Egypt, we had Sadiq Awujola in action for Pyramids in their 2-1 victory over Esperance de Tunis. And then the big CAF Confederations Cup game for this Sunday was Eyimba against Black Bulls. Well, of course, Eyimba, a Nigerian team, playing against Black Bulls of Mozambique that had 4 different Nigerian players on that team. Francis, Jalil, Ifoni, and Akporo. Ifoni was able to get on the score sheet. Jalil was able to get an assist, but unfortunately, they fell to a 4-1 defeat against Eyimba. Eyimba had Brownie Day scoring his first goal for the club after making a well-publicized return to Nigeria to play in the NPFL. So kudos to Eyimba, and now at least they have a chance to get out of their group in the CAF Confederations Cup. We also had Ibrahim Jaber in action, as well as God's Will for Stellenbosch in their 2-0 CAF Confederations Cup victory over Desportivo. In Greece, Toby Alagbe was on target, scored the only goal of the game for Asteras Tripolis in their 0-1 victory over Atromitos. Over in Malta, Franklin Sasere was the 2-goal hero for Floriana in their 4-0 victory over Naxar Lions. In Portugal, Stanley Iheanacho, Friday Etim, Kolawole were all in action in Torrens' 1-0 victory over CD Mafra. And then Prosper Oba was in action for Vizela in their 3-2 victory over Maritimo. Both games were in the second division over there in Portugal. In Saudi Arabia, Super Falcons defender Ashley Plumptre forced an own goal and also got an assist, as unfortunately her team Al Ittihad ladies fell to a 2-3 Saudi Arabia FA Women's Cup defeat against Al Nassr. In Scotland, we had Moses Ebiye and Peter Ambrose both in action for their clubs, as Motherwell, Ebiye with Motherwell, claimed a 2-0 victory over Peter Ambrose's Aberdeen. And then in Turkey, wrapping up with Turkey, we had David Okereke on target for Gaziantep FK in their 2-2 draw against Omero's Kashimpasa. Omero did not feature in that game. But Osayi Samuel and Funsho Bangboyi were both in the match, as Osayi Samuel's Fenerbahce claimed a 2-1 victory over Bangboyi's Hatayspor. We had Azibuike Kichuko with a good performance in midfield for Ezorunspor as they played out a goalless draw in the second division against Omraniye-Spor. We had Bede Osuji with an assist for Manisa FK in their 2-3 victory over Bandamespor. And that is how the Nigerian players performed over the weekend. I know it was a lot of games to run through, but please let me know who impressed you the most. Let me know who you think underperformed. And of course, on Tuesday on the Niger FC podcast, we will really dive deeper into some performances. We'll give you the star of the week. We'll give you the team of the week. So make sure you stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Like this video, share with friends so that they can stay updated on everything happening in the space of Nigerian football. Of course, as always, my name is Ayoti. You just watched the Lowdown with EaglesTracker, the home of Nigerian football. Bye-bye, guys. See you on the next one.